This presentation is to give you an idea, update for those of you that know me, and a an idea of what the foundation is all about and how we came about for those that are new. So the picture on the front there, the young man in the red polo shirt is my lovely son Tom, and we lost him 11 came out to 12 years ago, when he was aged just 19 from cancer. And he had a vision, which was to create a charity that supports teenagers and young adults with cancer. And this is a quick update, over 10 minutes, of what we do and what we've been up to in the last, probably since the last presentation I did. So it's just to give you an idea, there's some of the feedback we get from some of the young people we support. So it's something as simple as your support has made a significant impact on our lives. And as you heard a moment ago, those lives can be very, very badly challenged by a cancer diagnosis. Hold on, I've just clicked, but it's not moved. There we go, found it. Come on, there we go. So who am I? There's a few sort of background pictures of the family and who I am. So ultimately, I'm a father, and a father that had to deal with probably the worst case scenario you'd ever expect, which is losing one of your children. And as a father, your job is to protect them, and sometimes you aren't able to, and that can be something as aggressive and horrible as a cancer diagnosis. So there's just a few nice family pictures of us together when Tom was little, when our daughter Emma was little, and just give you an idea that I'm just an ordinary person ultimately, and that's what this mantle has been thrown on me through no choice of my own. So who's Tom? This is Tom. He was 18 when he was diagnosed. He was about to go to university. He was fun, kind, sensitive young man. Stood at 6'4". They say he was good looking, like his father. He had all the had everything in front of him, and he was about to go off to university at Roehampton to study classic civilizations, and was very excited about it. But then his and our world turned upside down when he was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive cancer. And that cancer was called a desmoplastic small round cell sarcoma, or tumour, of which he was the second recorded case in the UK. And I think at the time there were only 200 recorded in the world. So prognosis wasn't particularly good from day one. So what was Tom's vision? Tom's vision was basically he wanted a charity. There are great charities that do bits and pieces of all this jigsaw, but no one charity does all three. And those three are to fund teenage appropriate spaces in local hospitals. We live near Colchester, so Tom was treated at UCLH in Euston. And when he came home, he had to go to Colchester, which didn't have a teenage cancer facility, had wonderful nurses, but fairly archaic facilities, and always things like, why is Dad sleeping on blankets on the floor? And whereas there was a dedicated bed for a carer when he was up in London. So we provide funding in local hospitals, and we've done eight rooms across the UK so far, and that gives teenagers a space that's theirs, and it gives them a space to break out in and be teenagers ultimately, and to look after themselves mentally, while the nurses are looking after them physically. We then provide what we call emotional and financial support, and that emotional support can be from providing just being a support for them and their parents. I'm talking to a guy that at the moment whose son has been given a terminal brain tumor diagnosis, and so as a family, we're helping to support him and his wife as they process that diagnosis. But we're also helping them with the idea of fundraising to help support their young son. And the grants that we provide can be from something as simple as paying, as I said a moment ago, paying for a sports event, or it can be keeping for laptops. And I'll show you in a moment some of the things where the young people have had grants from us, what they've received, and the impact that's had on them. And then one of the sort of key areas is research. It's Tom's cancer was very rare and aggressive, and unfortunately, with teenagers with 7 a day diagnosed every day, unfortunately the cancers tend to be aggressive as well, and as a result, the chemotherapy has to be aggressive, and they're ultimately being treated with highly toxic drugs to attack these aggressive cancers. So those are the age appropriate spaces in the hospitals. This is what they look like. They're age appropriate for teenagers and young adults. They give them privacy. Tom, when he went to the hospital, always felt like he was being in Colchester, felt like he was being stared at like a fish in a goldfish bowl. But it gives them some dignity, privacy, where they can have space for themselves, but also space where they can be with other people in a similar situation. So it's preventing their isolation from their own friends and teenagers and families. And it is very much their space. It's a space that they can use, and it doesn't have to be one where it's going to be full of medical staff. They can literally just break out, be amongst themselves, share their stories, which they may not be able to share with their families or adults. So these are some of the young people we've supported. We've bought an the chap with the hat in the wheelchair. We bought him an all-terrain wheelchair so that he can get out and about and enjoy days out after this cancer treatment and diagnosis had changed his mobility. We've purchased laptops for educational and social purposes, so they can stay in contact with their friends and they can carry on with their education as well. We've bought an Apple Watch, so for the young man in the middle with the baseball cap, so that he can monitor his health on a time by time, day by day basis. We buy clothing because the treatment and the steroids they may be put on changes their body shape, and they want to have sort of nice clothes so that they can still look smart, even though the cancer has had a huge impact on them. We've paid for drama courses for young people who've managed to get through treatment and they want to have drama courses to help rebuild their confidence and help them follow their vision and their dreams, because they are very, very positive young people and they really, really want to look for their lives going forward into the future. Hair extensions, bottom left-hand corner, to give that young lady a feeling of dignity, and the fact that the chemotherapy has taken her hair, but she's able to have a nice head of hair on her that gives her a bit of a sort of social esteem and self-esteem. Mixers, so they can bake cakes because that's their hobby. They want to do. They want to follow up and do things that they love doing. It's all about creating that level of positivity. And the one area that is really, really challenging at the moment for these families is when the young person is going through treatment, they have to have an awful lot of the drugs create them and make them immunocompromised, so they can't really travel safely on public transport, or they have to use taxis because they don't have access to a vehicle. So we're helping fund travel costs frequently for these families, so they can get to treatment, get to hospitals, don't have to make the decision between should we travel to hospital for trips taking our young person to their treatment, or do we have to pay for food or pay for our utilities? So we're helping take a number of these decisions off their shoulders and helping their young people have experience and life and carry on living their lives, even they're going through a very dark period in their lives generally. So the big issue, as I said, is the travel costs. So the average distance that somebody has to travel for treatment, it can be 350 miles, and that's costing them up something like £250 a month on for their journeys. And if they're having to use their own vehicles, they've got parking charges. They're having to use taxis, they've got taxi charges. So we've funded just in the last 12 months over £14,000 worth of travel costs to these families, and it is a situation where we're getting demand almost on a daily basis for support for these kind of things. But it gives you an idea of the. We lived in Colchester. We had to go to Euston in North London. We had to drive down there. We were fortunate we had a car and we were able to find parking nearby. But imagine you've got to travel that journey there and back in via a taxi. That's going to cost a fortune. And these are kind of areas where we're providing those supports. Not necessarily have to be a huge amount of money for people, but it's enough to make a difference and enough for them to be able to get their child to treatment. We might be a small charity based in North Essex, but we have a reach across the whole of the UK. And the red dots there on that map give you an idea of where we've touched and where we supported a family, right up from the southwest, right up into Scotland. So cancer isn't territorial; it is all over the country, and there are families out there in desperate need of our support. And we say basically for every one that we reach, there are probably another 9 or 10 that we can't, because we either they don't know about us, or we just haven't had the reach out in that area. But as you can see, there are a number of hotspots, where financial challenges are causing a huge amount of problems to these families, and we're here to
Time
support.
is up, Richard.
Oh, is it? Blimey!
Yeah, I'm
So
afraid so. Yeah.
wow, wow. So that's a quick figure there of the amount we've raised in the time that we've been going, and then research, and then what people say about us. Sorry, Rob. It's I
Right.
missed the timing, mate.
No
You know
worries.
what I'm like with this subject.
Yeah, don't worry.
And then thank you. You can give the gift of a brighter future to these young people. Very happy to share that slide in the networking group. But people can make a huge difference to us. We've got people jumping out of aeroplanes for us, walking wings for us. And on Sunday, we've got a team of people running around doing the Culture Zoo Stampede. So there are a huge number of ways. And you can just do a simply monthly donation or take it from there and just contact me. I'll put my details in the chat, and we can go from there. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Richard. Brilliant. Thank you.